I was happening, y'all. It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and I'm coming to y'all with another big quarterback update. The last one we did was centered around more rumors, more scenarios, a lot of hypothetical things, reports that we weren't sure came from trustworthy sources or not, and we speculated about a lot of different things. This one is going to be mainly focused on just Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to give y'all an update on both of those situations and why we can be more optimistic about the Deshaun Watson situation now and why we should be way less optimistic about this Aaron Rodgers situation. And then I'm gonna also give a quick update on Trubisky and Russell Wilson as well. But the main reason we're here is for Deshaun Watson of the Houston Texans and Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers. A lot of really interesting updates from trustworthy sources, so we got to discuss all of that and a couple of other things. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, I'm back on the camera. I'm about to start making sure I'm in the camera for my videos more often again, so get back used to this format. I'm also about to revamp the whole background thing. I'm gonna change everything to like the Washington Commanders, all of that type of stuff. So be on the lookout for all of the new updates for the channel and all of the content. Like I said, any news that comes out, I got y'all. And expect some mock drafts, expect some free agency mocks as well. Everything dealing with this team in the offseason, I got y'all. I really need to get on these film sessions for players that I want as well, like a Malik Willis film session. I really need to get on all of that. And then of course with the combine coming up next week, I may live stream during some of that so we can watch it together, especially like the quarterback portion, all of that type of stuff. So be on the lookout for crazy content coming up, man. I'm about to get back to live streaming on Sundays, all of that type of stuff. So without further ado, let's get it. All right, so first of all, we got to start with how our quarterback situation is currently on this team, because I think it's really interesting that as of right now, Taylor Heinicke, of course, our starter from the 2021 season, is the only quarterback under contract on this team right now. So if anybody's safe, it's him. Now, I don't expect him to be the starter going into this next season, even though I can see scenarios where if we get Deshaun Watson, maybe he's suspended, so Taylor Heinicke has to start for a few games. Or if we draft a rookie, maybe you start Taylor Heinicke early, even though I prefer, even with Willis, as raw as people say he is, I could definitely see him starting day one if you run a certain type of offense. I can break it down for hours. I've already tweeted out people that have already broken it down for you on why that would actually be way simpler and why we would actually be able to win games early, even with somebody as raw as Malik Willis, especially with the team that we would potentially have around him. But either way, Taylor Heinicke should be on this roster going into this 2022 season. Kyle Allen, him and Taylor Heinicke are basically fighting for the backup role right now. Kyle Allen, again, is not currently on contract, but Kyle Allen is a restricted free agent, so that's an interesting situation. But at the end of the day, literally the only quarterback we currently have on our roster as far as the 2022 season is Taylor Heinicke. And then Rivera gave a lot of very interesting updates as far as the quarterback position through various interviews within like the past couple of weeks. One thing he said as far as the 2022 quarterback depth chart, he said, quote, "We're more than likely going to have a veteran on the roster. More than likely we'll have another veteran and more than likely have an opportunity to have a rookie on the roster as well." So it sounds like the more likely scenario is maybe like a Jameis Winston to start now, and then you draft a quarterback, maybe like a Malik Willis or somehow Desmond Ridder or any of those guys. But again, I could definitely see a scenario where even as raw as Malik Willis is, with his ability to run, you can extend the run game and have a dominant run game, just like the Eagles have. You could argue our offensive line was a better offensive line last year when healthy. Malik Willis is literally Jalen Hurts, you could argue, but with far better arm talent, and he's more mobile, he's faster, he's more athletic. So it's just like if the Eagles could do it, even though he didn't technically start day one, why wouldn't Malik Willis go very run heavy, let Malik Willis be an extension of the run game, and you can work on all the complicated passing stuff later, all the working through progressions, making decisions pre-snap, IDing potential blitzers, all of that type of stuff. You can add that in layer by layer. But that's really interesting because what I take from that is that Rivera plans on drafting a rookie pretty much no matter what, unless we go and get one of those bigger names like a Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, or a Russell Wilson. Or even if you get one of the older guys like a Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson, maybe you draft a quarterback later that you can groom. Either way, it looks like we're gonna have 2 new quarterbacks on this roster some way, somehow, whether it's like Trubisky or Jameis Winston or one of the lower tier veterans that you could bring in, and then you draft a rookie, more than likely with your first round pick to learn behind them, or maybe you wait to draft a rookie quarterback later in the draft. Either way, I believe Rivera when he says that, because there's a lot of different scenarios. Again, for me, with that scenario, my best case scenario out of a veteran and rookie quarterback mode that's realistic is Jameis Winston and Malik Willis for me. Like I've already spoken about in several videos, I just feel like Scott Turner could throw Jameis Winston out there as he's learning to create an offense around a mobile, big arm quarterback. Granted, Malik Willis has a stronger arm and is far more mobile than a Jameis Winston, but still, the offense that Scott Turner could design around Jameis Winston for him to succeed and win now would be closer to Malik Willis than the one that he would draw up for Taylor Heinicke, especially as far as hitting deep down the field. So while Jameis Winston is starting, Scott Turner's just trying all kinds of things, different plays, different formations, different route combinations, personnel groupings, and things like that. And by the time Malik Willis is ready to start, you have an offense that's already been tested and trial ran and crash test dummied by Jameis Winston, and everything is set up for Malik Willis to succeed whenever he's ready. So if that's the way we got to do it, I'm down. Any scenario that results in us getting Malik Willis, I'm really happy either way, no matter who's starting in front of him, because I know eventually we could potentially have an elite quarterback on our hands. And like me and Pedro Smith, first of all, make sure y'all go subscribe to him. Like we were talking about, having a quarterback on his rookie deal is like the most ideal scenario to win in Super Bowls. Once Pat Mahomes got paid, they haven't won a Super Bowl since. They won theirs on his rookie contract. It's just like once you pay the elite quarterback, I mean, of course you prefer to have the elite quarterback. We all do. We haven't had a quarterback period that's really notable, but once you pay that elite guy that 40+ million a year, it's hard to build a good enough team around them for you to go all the way to the Super Bowl. Maybe if the Bills had more money, they could have had better defensive talent to stop Pat Mahomes in overtime so Josh Allen could at least get the ball. I mean, Josh Allen scored a touchdown, never touched the ball again, and ended up losing the game. So quarterback isn't the only thing that matters, but it definitely matters the most. In the ideal scenario, again, best case scenario is you have one of those top quarterbacks on a rookie contract. Look at the Bengals. They have top 5 cap space, and they just made it to the Super Bowl. I mean, they're sitting pretty. Their future is like the brightest in the NFL right now, at least for the next 4 years wise. They have money to go and get top free agent offensive linemen if they want to protect Joe Burrow and see if they can run it right back. I mean, Brandon Sheriff would probably end up over there. If there's any team with a big need for offensive linemen that has crazy cap space and may be willing to pay Brandon Sheriff the money that he's looking for, it's the Bengals. Rivera also said, quote, "Just because you don't get a top flight quarterback doesn't mean you can't win," Rivera said. But that meant that the rest of the team, the different parts of the team, really stepped up. He also said, if you look at what's happened the last couple of years, you would say, yeah, that's the thing to do. There's a lot of options out there right now. Do any of them come to fruition? I can't tell you that, but what I can tell you is we're vetting every possibility. That's very encouraging because, I mean, at the end of the day, the way the NFL is, especially in recent years, either you have a really good to great quarterback or you don't. I mean, the worst quarterbacks in the playoffs, out of all of the teams that even made the playoffs this past season, were Jimmy Garoppolo, who was like right along the lines of average, maybe slightly below average. And then you have Hall of Famer Ben Roethlisberger, but he was on his last leg. And then maybe Ryan Tannehill, but he's definitely average, slightly above average to me. And it's like, if you don't have the quarterback, it's going to be really hard to compete. I mean, honestly, even just look at the 49ers and Rams matchup in the playoffs. They switch quarterbacks. The 49ers win by 20. Like, quarterback really matters. And Matthew Stafford isn't even an elite quarterback. I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan. Love Matthew Stafford. But at the end of the day, he's not one of those elite guys. But he was better than Jimmy Garoppolo enough just to make that big of a difference. Because the 49ers, outside of quarterback, were outplaying the Rams. Schematically, player to player, all of that. It was literally just Jimmy G couldn't do enough, couldn't even produce close enough to Matthew Stafford for his team that was really the better team that day to win that game. Again, quarterbacks matter. It's not all that matters. Like I said, once your money is tied up into that one quarterback, it's hard to win. It gets far more difficult to win, but you still need that quarterback to even have a seat at the table at this point. But I think it's really interesting because the last 2 Super Bowl champions acquired their quarterback the season that they won. The Buccaneers with Tom Brady, the Rams with Matthew Stafford. You get you improve at quarterback, and then now suddenly you're winning a Super Bowl. Of course, you have a great team around that quarterback. The Rams have multiple potential Hall of Famers on their team. The Buccaneers was just stacked. You could argue they were the best roster even outside of Tom Brady that year, but neither of those teams would have made it as far as they did if they didn't get Matthew Stafford or Tom Brady. That was like the last puzzle piece. And so Rivera is basically thinking out loud as to whether we're that type of team. Are we literally just a Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers away from doing the same exact thing the Buccaneers did 2 Super Bowls ago and the Rams just did in this most recent Super Bowl? And Ron Rivera was even asked if adding a premium quarterback to Washington's roster would be enough for a Super Bowl leap. And of course, Ron Rivera said, quote, "For the most part, the Bucs and the Rams were in place and went and got their quarterback. I believe we have the makings of a good football team. We have to be able to have the pieces in place to say that, and I believe we do," unquote. So Rivera does feel like if we get that top quarterback, we're ready to go. So it definitely seems like their preferred method of solving the quarterback position, finding a franchise quarterback, would be to get one of those top guys, because he views our roster as a Deshaun Watson away, a Russell Wilson away, any of those top guys away from making it to the Super Bowl, even possibly winning it, going the whole way. So to me, I feel like, even chronologically, free agency and trade happens before the draft, but also it seems like our priority is to get one of those top guys, one of those veterans, and then if all else fails, then we'll go and get the guy in the draft. And if all else fails, they'll probably just end up with a lower tier veteran like I spoke about earlier and pairing them with a rookie in the draft. And then directly from him, he basically declined to speak about whether he would consider trading core players to get a quarterback. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's off the table, because he didn't definitively say no, but those reports about they may be willing to trade Chase Young and all that type of stuff, a lot of those rumors seem to be false. But who knows, maybe Ron Rivera would be willing to, and those rumors are from a trustworthy source, and now he's just trying to cover it up by basically giving us nothing on that front. He even said, quote, "We'd like to believe we would be a viable option for a lot of quarterbacks. We understand what the capital will take to bring a type of player like that here. We believe we have a lot to offer," unquote. That's really interesting. Between picks and players, Ron Rivera feels like they can put together a nice trade package to get one of those top guys. And we're going to talk about those veterans right now. Let's start with Watson, Deshaun Watson. Apparently, we're leading in odds to acquire Deshaun Watson. Per Goal Line Football, we're plus 300 to get Deshaun Watson. Tampa Bay second with plus 350. Then you have Pittsburgh that's plus 900. New Orleans also plus 900. And the Minnesota Vikings plus 1,000. So that's a significant margin that we're like the leader in potentially getting Deshaun Watson. And of course, you can't necessarily believe any of the odds and stuff, but usually these guys have some type of insider information to even be willing to put this information out there like that, to even start these betting odds. The goal for the odds sharks is to make money and to be as close to the truth as possible for a reason. There's money behind it. So of course it's not the end all be all, and I'm not even necessarily sure if I believe that data at all, but they must know a little bit of something for them to even be willing to produce that data and put it out in an article and share it for the world to see. In history shows, those odds makers, when it comes to situations like this, when it's not necessarily projecting power rankings, like who's going to be the next team going into the next year, when it comes to odds of something happening as far as trades or free agency signings, draft stuff like that, they're not always right. But even times where we thought there's no way, I don't know where they came up with these odds, and then it ends up happening. So we'll see. For a lot of reasons, Deshaun Watson doesn't make sense for this team, but especially with all the cases still pending and all of that type of stuff. But those odds sharks usually do have some random, really exclusive insider information on things like this at times. So we'll see. And then as far as Watson, where he wants to go, there's been a report that Deshaun Watson has begun evaluating potential fits, but the Bucs and the Vikings are amongst teams on his radar. And this came out before the odds data came out. So that's probably why the Vikings and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in that top 5 that we already discussed. Whereas us, we're not even one of these potential fits that has apparently come out from a source close to Deshaun Watson, and we're still leading the odds. So that's a really weird situation. There's something behind that. Again, I'm not guaranteeing you that we're going to get Deshaun Watson, Watson, because again, there's a lot of reasons why we shouldn't, but there's something interesting behind the scenes on this situation. And then as far as the Houston Texans point of view and everything, they're being patient on trading Deshaun Watson. They're not going to take a cheaper, more immediate offer while they still can type of situation. They're like, the Deshaun Watson situation will resolve itself in time, and they're comfortable with Davis Mills as their starting quarterback going into the next season. And the Deshaun Watson situation is interesting because even if we do end up getting him, will he end up being suspended for a long time? And if you get Deshaun Watson, first of all, you don't have first round picks for many years. You may not even have seconds or thirds. You may lose some players. And I could definitely see a scenario where he's suspended for a while. So that looks like Taylor Heinicke will be our starting quarterback while we wait for Deshaun Watson to get off of his suspension. It's a really interesting scenario. And then some really important updates on Aaron Rodgers from Deanna of ESPN on the Kevin Sheehan show. Many things revolving Aaron Rodgers' current situation and a bunch of updates, especially how they pertain to the Washington Commanders. So basically, one, the Washington Commanders are not one of the teams that have offered Aaron Rodgers. It was a report that several teams already have a trade package ready for Aaron Rodgers and have already offered it to the Green Bay Packers. We're not one of those teams, so that's strike one. Number two, according to sources close to Aaron Rodgers, he has a few places that's on his destination list. DC is not one of them. That's strike two. Number three, Green Bay doesn't want to trade him. That's strike three. Two more. Number four, an AFC team would definitely be a more than likely destination if Green Bay trades him, because Green Bay doesn't want to have to play him almost every year. You don't want to trade him to another NFC team and now y'all never make it to the Super Bowl because you got to go through him. So it is more likely for Aaron Rodgers to end up on an AFC team if he's traded. And then also, lastly, fifth, Aaron Rodgers reportedly wants $50 million a year. And at 38 years old, that's scary. That's really, really scary. Because, I mean, even if he was the league MVP this last season, if he falls off a cliff, because Tom Brady's game has never been predicated on his athleticism, like arm strength, mobility, and things like that. A lot of what Aaron Rodgers does deals with how physically fit he is. So if he just randomly falls off a cliff and just gets old on us out of nowhere, $50 million a year will be an enormous overpay. And even ignoring all of that, even if Aaron Rodgers is still league MVP Aaron Rodgers, and it would be nice to be relevant again, but like, I don't know what it is, but when Aaron Rodgers gets to the playoffs, he just doesn't seem to be himself. He just can't get over that hump. Of course, there's a lot of blame to go around, but I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, this year especially, Aaron Rodgers just didn't play well enough to beat the 49ers. Granted, the 49ers as a team just played better than the Green Bay Packers that day, but overall, Aaron Rodgers was not league MVP Aaron Rodgers against them, and this just seems to happen in the playoffs quite a bit for him. So you're gonna pay Aaron Rodgers $50 million a year, hoping that he doesn't get old and fall off a cliff physically, even though he's 38 years old and he can't seem to make it to a Super Bowl. Even in the years that he's league MVP, I just don't know. Because now you got to look at the Green Bay Packers without Aaron Rodgers. You got to look at us without Aaron Rodgers and try to see, like, if we have Aaron Rodgers, are we better than what the Green Bay Packers were with Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs? Could we have beaten the 49ers if it were us with Aaron Rodgers going against them and things like that? And it's just like, what is your ceiling truthfully with them? Again, of course, we'll be way more relevant. We'll be playoff contenders. We should win the NFC East. I think year to year, once you have Aaron Rodgers and he's still league MVP version of Aaron Rodgers, we should be back to back NFC East champions. But will that result in a Super Bowl ring? And then the last two things, it's been reported that the Washington Commanders are continuing to show interest in Bills quarterback Mitchell Trubisky as a potential bridge quarterback to start ahead of a rookie this upcoming season. So that's one of those scenarios we were talking about earlier. Again, I prefer Jameis Winston for several reasons I've already talked about in videos, but long story short, he's shown that he can win. He made the Saints better than what they actually were. He limited his turnovers, and most importantly, like I already described with the Scott Turner situation and building an offense around the next quarterback that we want, even if it's Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, either of those guys where we can actually finally throw it deep down the field and we have a mobile quarterback at the same time, Jameis Winston would be a nice quarterback to go out there and be our crash test dummy and to win games early at the same time while the rookie quarterback gets ready, and he'll just have an offense packaged and gift wrapped right for him when he's ready to start. Again, I prefer Malik Willis, but I mean, out of the scenario, I just think Jameis Winston, if you're not going to get one of those top guys like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, I think Jameis Winston is your best bet, especially in front of a rookie. And then lastly, apparently Russell Wilson took all mentions of the Seahawks out of his Twitter bio. So is he ready to go on the move? We saw Kyler Murray do the same thing with the Cardinals. Apparently there's turmoil, especially over his contract situation. He feels like he deserves to be paid way more money than what the Cardinals apparently want to give him. Something like that. And Russell Wilson, you already know he's been wanting to leave, but the Seahawks don't want him to leave. It's not like the Seahawks are out here actively trying to shop Russell Wilson. This whole situation started because Russell Wilson apparently wants out. Seahawks still don't want to trade him though. But now apparently Russell Wilson has taken everything Seahawks out of his Twitter bio. So we'll see how this goes. I mean, who knows if that means anything, if that's actually going to be the catalyst for him getting traded. Who knows? We'll see. But I just felt like I needed to report that. Any information I get, I'm going to report it, whether it's significant or not. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Most notably the Rivera quotes, us leading the Deshaun Watson odds, and Aaron Rodgers basically being a big no at this point for the Washington Commanders at the very least, and just everything discussed in this video. Also, please like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Stay tuned for more content. Y'all are going to see my face more often. First of all, I'm using my camera in my videos again, and I'm about to start getting back to the live streams as well. And of course, man, I appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now. Man, I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.